Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Biomedical Taster session today. It's really so much joy for us, for me as a host and our guest today, to connect with you virtually. We definitely wish it could have been face-to-face, but definitely be sure to look forward to that very, very soon. My name is Enes Damali. I work with the University of Guelph as one of the international recruitment and admission officers. I'm pretty sure I might have connected with some of you some way through the process, maybe either through a webinar, possibly to your school, or generally, or virtually in some way, possibly through Unibody or email. All the same, it's really a big excitement for me to be able to connect with you. And today's session is going to be an amazing one. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions and might be thinking of a lot of things, and that is why we are here. Before I continue, I just want you to know that Griffin wants to say hello. Hello, everyone. Yes, you are a future Griffin yourself, and we are very excited that you choose to be part of the Griffin community. As a Griffin, you'll not just be a number on campus. You're actually going to be part of a very vibrant and very warm and friendly campus with very high achieving and award-winning faculty members, like Prof. Madan here himself, but also the student community is just wonderful to be part. I do remember my own journey as an international student coming from Ghana and joining the Griffin community. It's been an amazing experience, and 9 years and going, I'm still part of the community and in the city of Guelph. Today's session, there is definitely going to be time for you to hear from one of my guests, one of our faculty members, Professor Pavnish Madan, and a wonderful student, Muhammad Negmi. They are definitely going to share experiences. They will love to hear and to answer your questions. And so please feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A chat function. But just for a break, and before I introduce or welcome Professor Madan on, I would want you to just type in the chat box where you are connecting with us from. Maybe, so I'm connecting with you. You can put your name if you want to, but I'm Ernest from Guelph, Ontario, Canada. You can put in the city or the country, so your name and the country, and we'll be so happy to know where you are connecting from with us from. I just quickly want to mention the University of Guelph is not only one of Canada's top comprehensive universities, but I can also assure you we pride ourselves in the fact that overall we have high marks when it comes to student satisfaction. In 2020, McLean did a survey and University of Guelph was ranked overall in very high marks when it comes to student satisfaction. So we're looking at ranking number 1 in 6 out of 10 categories. One of the categories has to do with course instructors, student life advising, administrative staff connection, but residents as well as extracurriculum activities. So I can definitely assure you there is a lot to experience and to definitely benefit to being part of the Griffin community. And without much ado, at this point, I would like to welcome Professor Pavnish Madan, who is a professor with the Department of Biomedical Sciences. He will introduce himself. And Prof, thank you so much for being with us, and over to you.
Thank you, Ernest, for that warm welcome, and also welcoming all our attending participants here from across the globe. I know it might be different times in different parts of the world, but everybody, thank you for being here today with us. My role today is to just give you a brief overview of what happens at Guelph in general in terms of the biomed program. So without further ado, let me share my presentation so that you can all see what my title of my talk is: why undergrad or grad studies at especially biomed at the University of Guelph, why you should or you can be an important part of this process. And I'll give you reasons for why this will be an interesting journey for you and why you should choose Guelph. Why I'm a better person to say that is because I have actually traveled and studied or worked at 2 other major universities in Canada, and I'll quickly talk about those in a second. But what is more important is I was many, many moons ago, was somebody like you sitting across the globe trying to apply for studies overseas. And I was just telling Ernest, that was a time when we had no such opportunities, and we had to just simply write letters to different part of the world, not even in email, just pure paper letters. So you used to sit on a typewriter, type a letter, and then post it to across the world. So that is where I am coming from. So just to tell you a little bit about my background, my journey started from somewhere in India, and I did my veterinary education and my master's in veterinary obstetrics and gynecology in India, and started working in the industry. Some of you, if anybody is from India in this list, would know Raymond's and Dabur would be two major companies that are involved in veterinary pharmaceuticals or veterinary embryo transfer processes. And that time, my desire to do a PhD really got strong, that I really wanted to get a world-class education in a PhD from somewhere, a best place in the world. And some of my applications, as I said, went across the globe. UBC was kind enough to give me a place at their university, and I did my PhD at UBC, and therefore I know this place really well. And then got my first job at Western, and I spent 3 years doing my postdoc at Western. But during that time, I also applied for passing my boards to practice in North America as a veterinarian in North America, because during my PhD and my job, I could not touch an animal. I had lost, they would not give me privileges to be a veterinarian. So I passed my NAVLE exam while I was in London, Ontario. And then things fell in place. I passed my CPE. That's a clinical proficiency exam to become a full licensed veterinarian in Canada. And also was time when I became a faculty at Guelph with a combination of a PhD and a license, and being a veterinarian, I could do that and be in University of Guelph. So what I bring to the table is amazing comparison of some universities in Canada, and why our program in biomed, especially biomed program at Guelph, is such a solid program. So by now you must be all familiar with these pages, which is why, biomedical sciences, it's a program that is jointly being run by College of Biological Sciences and the Biomedical Science Department at the Ontario Veterinary College. And I am lucky that I'm part of the biomedical program. My placement in the college is in the Department of Biomedical Sciences, and I do teach majorly in the biomed program. So going back to the question of why undergrad or grad programs, especially within biomed at University of Guelph. And I think the first point I want to highlight is that we have some amazing teachers in biomed program. And when I say amazing teachers, they are award-winning teachers, not only award-winning teachers within, let's say, the college, but within the university. There are very good teaching awards which the university has designed, and most of the awards, if you go back to UGFA awards list, it's available on the internet. You'll find every year there's some few people from OVC, and especially biomed, who have won those awards. And then the university itself, so many good awards across different departments in the university. And then there are some national outside the university awards, and we have been recipients of these awards for a long time. Myself, it's humbling to say that I've been very, very lucky that the highest teaching award that exists in the field of veterinary medicine, which is the Pfizer Norman Teaching Award, that is something which I've received twice in the last 12, 13 years. So it tells us that we internationally, we are well recognized for our teaching. And we use both the traditional and non-traditional teaching methods. And Mohammed, who is here, knows that I use a very non-traditional teaching approaches for one of the courses I teach, the Biome 4110, where we do not do a very traditional teacher learning, but it's has a lot of elements of gamification process in teaching. It has aspect of self-directed learning. It has Ignite Talk pattern. It has Dragon's Den. It has Amazing Race. So it has a very different concept in terms of how we run our courses. The second important aspect is why you should be in biomed program is about research. And you get amazing opportunities to work with different researchers. And that's something I find is unique at Guelph, because at other major universities, the programs may be so huge that you get lost in translation. And when I say lost in translation, I find so many students struggle to even get a placement. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So it's very hard sometimes for students to get a placement in a lab. They are struggling to get an opportunity to work in a lab. And here at Guelph, we give opportunities to students right through their summer jobs to undergrad opportunities. There's a research course that they can come and get attached to the lab, and they rotate through, get an experience to work in the lab. So there are numerous opportunities, and there are diverse labs. So if you want to work with, elephants, you can do it. If you want to work with a zebrafish, you can still work it. You want to work in non-animal models, you can work. You can physics, chemistry, any kind of aspect you want to do, you can really work in that field. The third aspect is about the community service. I find students at University of Guelph get amazing opportunities to be part of the bigger community. One of the best parts of Guelph is that community service. The ability to belong to the place, ability to connect with different groups. There are programs, there are clubs, there are student models, the groups, which if you're inclined towards that, you can do it. If you want to work on astronomy, there's an amazing astronomy club. If they want to go and go hiking and climbing, there's an amazing hiking and climbing club. So you just have to think about what you really want to do and where do you belong. And you'll be surprised that there is a group for that. And that is something amazing. And then on top of that, the way students serve the community, coming together to fundraise or for that matter, provide any kind of aid in times of earnest need. That is something I find is unique to Guelph. Multidisciplinary approaches. I found that in other universities where I have been, people were focused on getting into medical school, and then they don't get in medical school, and then they crash because they had no plan B, they had no plan C. While Guelph gives you multidisciplinary approach, it tells you there are so many, hey, don't worry about it. If you can get into medicine, there is, this program, there is ophthalmology, there is, pharmacy, there is, veterinary medicine and research. So there are different ways. There's dentistry. All those are kept in the periphery. Like you really have to have that balance, and which I find is amazing that students at Guelph get that multidisciplinary approach, that there is just more than just a medical school. And that is beautifully done here. So you can really get into multiple career pathways. One of my students actually joined a few years back into midwifery course. So somebody has gone to become a nurse. So, and I'll show you, I prepared a special slide of some of my recent grads where they have all ended up. The other reason why it's really great at Guelph is the unique campus infrastructure. Nothing is too far. I have been on a campus where I cannot go from one place on campus to the other place on campus. Like it's just too far to really commute from South Campus to the North Campus. Here, everything is a bike ride away at the most, or otherwise walking. And you can get to all your amenities, your clubs, your athletic gym, back to your classroom in a matter of minutes. So even if you have 1 hour break in between, you can easily get a workout done in between your classes. And there's an extraordinary sense of belonging on the campus. I cannot stop but talk about food on campus, because it's one of the best campuses where the best food is available. And no matter how much you think you're going to cook on your own, because that was what I was thinking when I came to Canada, that I will cook most of the time. You don't sometimes get time to really cook, or you just are lazy because you've had a tiring day. And the Guelph, we have our own hospitality sector. A university has their own hospitality team. They have amazing chefs, finger-licking good chefs. And you will think that the food is only North American. Forget about it. If I show you the menu and if you go to the hospitality center website, you'll be surprised to see there's a world cuisine. You can pick up anything in the world. It could be, Mexican one day, Indian one day. It will be Japanese the third day. It will be, African, sub-African dishes on some days. And there'll be European food one day. I think I have become a more connoisseur of food after coming to golf, because I got more understanding of the world, what the world actually eats after coming to golf. So, and it's not very expensive. I would say even cheaper than rest of the market in the world. Like, if I get even to McDonald's, I think I have to at least spend $10 at McDonald's to really, get a standard diet these days. And for $7.5, you can easily get a very solid lunch in Guelph. So it's really cheaper than some of the shops in the industry. City, I cannot talk how good this city of Guelph is. It's a dynamic and fulfilling city. One of the best cities to live in Canada. If you go to our City of Guelph website, there's some information about how this is a great city. I think 2019, we were ranked #1 in Canada to live in, although we might have dropped a few places in the last few years because of the prevailing conditions in the world, but we still right up in the top 10. And I know why, because I have lived here for the last 15 years now, and I can vouch that it's one of the best cities to live in. And if there are any more questions, I would be happy to handle that. So out of all those things I talked about, I really want to focus on the 3 important areas. First being the teaching. And as I said, we at Guelph, all the teachers, not just me, are at the leading edge of technology use. Like whatever is the latest in technology, we use it. There was a time when the iClickers and the student response came into a big thing, and we just quickly adapted it. We nailed it. Problem-based learning. Some of our courses are entirely problem-based learning now, where that was the demand of a lot of places where students were slowly going into problem-based learning methods, and we have done that in our curriculum. And we have redesigned some of the courses, at least from my perspective. The veterinary medicine course, which is veterinary anatomy 3070, really redesigned it. So last year I was supposed to bring virtual reality into the mix of things, and because of the pandemic, we still have, we have it in our lab now, but we don't have rolled it out to the people. But then there's a lot of other models, as I said, non-traditional models, like using Ignite Talks, using Dragon's Den, Amazing Race, something to teach with. For research, Catch Them Young is a great thing we go with. We identify good students inclined towards research. In the 3rd year itself, they come into the lab during the summer, and then they take the 4th year research course. I take summer students as well. And then we have the MBS students who come in through the grad program, or master's students and PhD students who come into the lab. The last part being the service, and we'll talk about more in the coming slides, which is how it's student focused we are as a faculty member. We service not only towards the university, towards the department, to our college, but also the students. We serve the students by being part of different teams. I'm a supervisor for different clubs on campus, and we'll talk about that, like the Indian Student Association. I'm the faculty representative for the ISA on campus, which is the Indian Student Association. I'm also part of the Beyond the Boundaries focus of the university, which is the activities in the city of Guelph and global VETs, and we'll talk about that in a second. So here is the virtual reality which we have brought into the mix right now in terms of teaching. And here's a video and I can tell you, I can promise this, I did not pay a single penny to Kyle Bushy, who was a student in veterinary medicine, to say what he's going to say, but it tells you our involvement in how we teach at Guelph. Oops. Let's see if this plays.
And everybody's willing to help you, no matter what it is. Dr. Madan is one of the most influential people that we have for phase 1. And he is willing to go to the far ends of the earth just to help you understand even the most simple concept. So he's very, very helpful. And I've seen him help a lot of students, including me. and his depth of knowledge is just crazy. You can ask him something about anatomy, things that you'd expect him to have forgotten over the years, and he still has it, or he has references that he remembers seeing. So it's information coming from him is very quick. And
so that basically tells you that we do not leave any stone unturned in terms of where we want to go. This slide just shows trainees from just my lab. So there are so many faculty members in Guelph, and these are just where they've been. But to make it easy for you, look at the little icons at the end. So we have people who have become scientists or embryologists in labs, people who have become veterinary doctors, veterinarians, dentists. They've joined the industry. For example, Lindsay Bergnon from my lab, senior manager in Thermo Fisher Scientific. Karina Elliott, she is still working with Blue Therapeutics. She's a quality control specialist there. So there are and then of course we have people, joining as scientists and as industry men. So so many opportunities for people to go in various fields. As a faculty, it's not just inert interaction. This is my interaction with students over these years as part of the Global Vets Club. So this is a club activity which students become part of Global Vets. They travel internationally in summer and they go and serve communities, different part of the world. And every once in a while, we have a gala event to raise money for them. And this is after some of the galas over these years. And people, even after they come back to listen to their stories, I invite them for dinner at home. So there's a very cordial atmosphere at Guelph. I find that at other universities, there's not that atmosphere that faculty member call people at home, students are sitting around the dining table and having dinner together, sharing their stories of travel, where they worked in parts of Africa or Asia or Central America. So this is where we are connected to the rest of the world. And beyond the boundary of the university, if anybody, a cricket lover here who plays cricket, we have our own cricket club. And I've been, when I moved to the city, there was no cricket ground available. And so we really worked hard to get this built. So this is the mayor of our city, and he came to inaugurate the cricket ground. And now we regularly have matches. I think going forward, we're planning to have some co-ed. Right now, you might see only men around there, but this year we are planning the co-ed sessions so that our women and girls can join and have fun in this game as well. So to summarize, I think we are #1 comprehensive university in terms of the research dollars we create for students to do research. It's a great comprehensive university. One of the #1 in Canada. And I already said teaching, we are one of the best in the world. We are amazing teachers, bunch of amazing teachers. We collaborate together a lot. We have opportunities to do some amazing research thanks to the #1 research dollars we get in terms of research projects in Canada. And our community connect is amazing with one another. We are amazing when we connect together. That provides base for solid mental health opportunities for students to work together as well. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions. And this is our beautiful Ontario Veterinary College. Thank you. I hope I was in time. Ernest, you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you very much. You just made me feel like coming back to school. Future Griffins, you are definitely in for a very great experience. Thank you so much, Dr. Madan. It's really amazing hearing all your wonderful experiences across from the classroom to the food on campus. Oh my, you made me start salivating. Yes, we are ranked second to none as far as Canadian campus food is concerned. You are absolutely coming to the best. Now, I would definitely want to throw the baton to our wonderful student, Mohammed Negmi. He's going to introduce himself and tell us a bit more about his own experience And please remember again, you can put in your questions in the Q&A chat function. And so please let the questions start flowing. I'm definitely sure Mohammed, myself, and Dr. Madan will be more than happy to clarify things and definitely answer your questions. And so, Mohammed, please, over to you.
Thank you, Ernest. So hey everyone, my name is Mohammed and I'm very excited to be sharing my University of Guelph experience with you. I've just actually completed my 4th year biomedical science program, which means I'll be graduating in the upcoming ceremony. So very exciting, and I have a lot to share. I'll be also doing my best to give you a chronological run through of what to expect in the program and the university. But with that being said, I think Dr. Madad did an excellent overview and actually addressed a lot of the topics that I was going to be talking about in great detail. So thank you for that. So to begin with, I do want to mention that I applied to the University of Guelph from a Canadian high school, which means my admission process may be slightly different to yours. However, I did live in the Middle East for most of my years and moved here in 2013. So I'm aware of a lot of the transition questions that you may have related to the process. That being said, we'll start off talking about the 1st and 2nd year courses, or actually before that, I'll explain why I chose the university from high school. So I've always had an upbringing or a medical-oriented upbringing, given that my father and my brother are both practicing physicians. And so I've always had a natural interest in sciences. But when looking at science programs in the across universities, I think you'll notice that a lot of them are very similar, except that, as Dr. Madan's mentioned, Guelph has a very unique way of providing a teaching style to their science courses. As well as I also did want to mention that we have a lot of great access to the OVC facilities, which allow our courses to have a different aspect to them than what you may find in other universities. Specifically, something that intrigued me was that Guelph has an anatomy course, which I think is the only school that can allow you to actually take a dissection course and be able to kindly use the cadavers that were donated to the university, which is awesome. So yeah, once I decided to choose Guelph, once I actually came on campus, this is actually something that I talk a lot about with the students that I connect through Unibuddy. And I tell them that on paper, you can see all these science programs and everything, and you can't really differentiate until you get to the universities and you actually find out a little bit more about how the professors take over these courses. However, for me, what really nailed it was that when I went to the campus during the fall, it's a wonderful view. It's a beautiful view. Something that to this day I look forward to every year, and it's sad knowing now that I'm about to graduate, so maybe I won't be able to enjoy it one more time. But I'm sure I'll be making a visit sometime to go over that again. The architecture of the buildings is wonderful. The classes themselves, some of my favorite courses were done in buildings such as Rosansky and War Memorial, just because they have that unique history behind it as well. So for the courses, the 1st year courses, the university recognizes that students will be coming from different educational backgrounds. And so the way that the program is set up is to ensure that everyone coming in will have a solid foundation for the first 2 years. So that being said, you may actually notice that your peers in other science majors will share a lot of the 1st and 2nd year courses. And this is because core concepts that you'll be taking are likely to be built up over the years. And the content that you can expect in those courses will be very similar to what you're probably studying in the last year of high school, with also room for you to take electives of your choice. Personally, for me, my electives for the first 2 years were probably the following year's courses, just so I can reach ahead and better prepare myself. And then you'll find that as the years go on, you have plenty of electives to take on courses that you would just like to take from pure interest. You can also choose to do a minor from something that you learned from a course that you learned to like over the years. So another thing is that people definitely always ask me from the students that I connect with on Unibuddy, is they always like to ask me about the difficulty of courses. And one thing that I always mention is that like anything with a big transition, there's going to be some challenges that come along with it. So I always advise them, just always stay on top of your work, and you can do this through so many ways. Personally, I used to do it through just creating a calendar where I can well, what I always do is put up all the major assessments of my courses and the due dates. And you could do this through your phone or through a traditional calendar that you can hang up in your room. And you'll find that you can stay on top of your work a lot easier and that you'll have plenty of time for social networking, or you'll have time for things to do on campus or whatever you may like to do. And there's a lot of things on that note. There's a lot of things to do on campus. In my first year, I was actually involved with the College of Biological Sciences Student Council, where I was a student governor, and this allowed me to, of course, take on a lot of the ideas from my peers in the program, and we were able to construct a lot of cool events for the science major students, and that's something that you can definitely be a part of. It's not a difficult process by any means. You can also choose to be a Safe Walk volunteer, which is something that I was also a part of. And this kind of touches on how Dr. Medan was talking about how we have that community involvement, or this nature to be involved with our peers. And the Safe Walk program is essentially built to help ensure the safety and to help install like confidence in our community. And what it is that we have a set group of people who are available every night to help accommodate you and escort you at night, whether you have late classes or if you're studying late in the libraries and you just would like someone to escort you to your residence. They're always available to do that through a phone number, and they're available all night long, which is awesome. I think it's something that, you know, it's great for the university to have, just to make sure that everyone does feel safe on campus, because campus safety is something that they prioritize, which is awesome. For other clubs, you can always choose to, like Dr. Medan said, discover what your interests are and take part of them. Personally, I actually I started a club with some of my colleagues, and this is something that is really interesting, because I made an entirely new friend group out of just my peers in certain courses, and some of my best friends have probably come from my university experience, two of which I was able to start the university club with. It's called Sparrow Foundation, and this aims just to help the homeless population. We started off in Guelph, and we've gotten a lot of support in Guelph and from the university, as well as some of the MPP leader actually of Guelph. And we've later established the actual organization. We registered last year. We're coming up to like our first year of first complete year of registration, and we've seen a lot of success in that. And I think that stems from, as mentioned, we have that nature to always be involved in our community. And the scaling of this organization is something that I'm very, very proud of, and I'm proud to have started it from my roots in Guelph, because it really represents what we're about. Moving on now, I'm going to be talking about how the program will actually help you, and you may have noticed that there are a lot of multidisciplinary pathways that can be taken from this course. So once you get past from the program, sorry, and once you get past the first and second year, you'll notice that your courses become a little bit more specific in terms of what you're actually studying. So for biomedical sciences, you'll be taking courses that have some clinical perspectives in them. And through the facilities in the OBC, you'll notice that you have access to labs and great high technology equipment, where you can then get a further idea of what things that look like from a clinical perspective. Some of my favorite courses have been endocrinology, or Dr. Medan's mammalian reproductive biology, where you get to see things not just from the book and the textbook, but you get to see it, like, how is this relevant to the current fields, and how can I be involved in this, and what does this look like as a career? And as I've mentioned, I've grown up thinking that I had an interest in medicine, when actually along the way, because of my sports background and my interest in sciences, through these courses, anatomy, physiology, endocrinology, I realized that I actually took an interest to physiotherapy. That was something that I was very, very interested in. And I just developed this through these courses. And so I took a very last minute decision to pursue physiotherapy. And what I did is I started applying this year, and I actually thankfully got some offers to pursue it next September, which is awesome. But something that also showed me other career interests was that the research involvement that I took part in. So in third year, I was part of the Human Health and Performance Lab, in which I saw a lot of innovative capability within that lab, and how they were constantly coming up with new ideas for treatment of athlete injury. And that was something that I thought was really, really cool. The research is definitely something that is constantly expanding in Guelph, and it's something that if you look online, actually, I follow the University of Guelph research news. And you can see that a lot of the news that's coming out from the university is something that's being very publicly viewed, and it's research that's really coming out and showing to be some of the top literature that's being published out there. So as mentioned, we have a lot of different departments, and they're all working on different things. So if there is something that you're interested in, definitely you can contact a professor and find a way to volunteer or whether participate in one of their studies, and you will eventually find a way into a lab. It's very, very awesome, and I think it's something that I should push everyone to do, because not only can you find different career interests, but you can also just be someone who's very involved in research or very interested in it, and actually pursue that as a career, because not only through the third year and fourth year experiences that you may take, a lot of the times when you work with a professor in research, you can continue to do that as a master's and maybe further do a PhD. So I have a lot of my friends who've done that, and that's something that I know that they're very, very happy to have continued along. In terms of student to professor interaction, as you may have seen, for example, you have a professor right in front of you, and they're very, very engaging. I've been thankful to come across a lot of great professors along the years, and you'll find that even if you pop in during office hours, or if you look for TA help, they're always willing to help you, make sure that if there's any questions, they're addressed. If you have any concerns about maybe your involvements in the course or anything, they're very, very supportive. And I think that's also something that's very, very unique to Guelph, because when I talk to my friends possibly from other universities, they always have large classes where maybe they don't get a lot of interactions with the professors. So yeah, I think that's also something great. And I'm just gonna wrap it up and talk about some of my favorite things to do on campus and my favorite things about Guelph. So some of my favorite things to do on campus, I've been annually been a part of the intramural sports leagues. I've been playing soccer in the University of Guelph. It's something that I love. I love walking around the city of Guelph. We have plenty of parks and trails. We have the Guelph Arboretum, which is huge. You can see a lot of wildlife. It's actually near campus as well. And also the food, as I was going to mention this earlier, the food is unbeaten, second to none. We've actually won countless awards over the years, to the point where they stopped even giving out the awards because it wasn't even a competition across other universities. So yeah, the community as well is something that I just want to touch up on last. The Guelph community is definitely unique. It's very supportive, diverse, people coming from different backgrounds. We all have the community sense. And I think that's what makes us strive so much. It's because we feel that we're all one student body, and that there is no real difference between you and the person sitting next to you, and that you're all here to enjoy one beautiful campus experience. Oh, sir, Ernst, I think you're muted. I think you're muted.
Ernest, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I definitely want to say, future Griffins, we have time for our questions. I know some of you might have submitted questions during your registration, and others you do have questions. This is just kind of popping up, and we are definitely going to welcome both Dr. Madan and Mohammed to help us with our questions. That being said, I personally may stop sharing just so I could be able to read my questions out. But there is a question here. Okay. I just wanted to mention also that, yes, it is being recorded, and that it will be shared with other participants, as well as those who were able to register but were not able to be present today. But there were some interesting questions that came in. Maybe I want to start with Mohammed, just from the student perspective. There's a question about what it feels like, what is the course load like for a first-year student? How did the transition for you, from high school, definitely as an international student, there's a little bit more layers to that, to adjustment culturally. But overall, what was the course load like for your first year?
I definitely think the course load is manageable. It's different than what you may have experienced in high school, because it really, I need to stress that it does come down to independent learning, making sure that you're on top of your work. So although it may seem like it's a lot more difficult, as long as you're managing it, and this can be done, again, like I said, through organization and just making sure you plan out what needs to be done, your due dates, when the assignments are due, or when you need to maybe possibly read your chapters. It's very manageable. If you think about how much time is available throughout the day, as long as you allocate a good portion of the time towards your education, you'll have plenty of time to go to the gym, to go meet friends, to maybe go around the city. So yeah, and definitely if you have if you're having issues following up with some of the course material, we do have certain things going on like SLG groups, and these are groups that are designed to go over content that's being done in your courses, and they'll actually let you know that these are held during this time, and you can drop in and maybe ask questions, or maybe practice your material more, or with others. So it's very manageable as long as you're organized with the amount of work that you need to do.
Awesome. This might be for Dr. Madan, or possibly both of you. The question is, can I apply to medical school or medical related professions after my first degree? And there's a follow-up saying, are there any other degree programs I could consider if I'm not studying biomedical science, for example?
Yeah, I can take that first. And as I showed it in my presentation, that the best way to show is to explain that is by giving you an example and demo. And I gave you a demo of so many students who have gone to diverse fields of medicine. So some of my students have become actual physicians. Actually, one of my students became not only a physician, but became a specialist OBGYN specialist. And so goes on to say some of them went into dentistry, nursing, midwifery, ophthalmologist, things like that. So yes, the question is that can they get diverse? I find that students at our campus are more in tune with what the other diverse fields are and get that opportunity to see firsthand what is veterinary medicine. I know students who do not even have veterinary medicine in the middle of the mind. I know some people who came to Guelph as going to be human doctors suddenly became animal doctors midway in their program, and vice versa. Some wanted to be veterinarians so badly that they came to Guelph because they know it's a great university to follow a dream to be in vet med. And then they just go the other way and say, no, I don't think veterinary medicine is for me. I want to go into human health. So yes, the answer is there are a lot of opportunities for you to pursue any field in medical sciences.
Awesome. Just a follow-up on the veterinary medicine option. A student is asking that, how do they find work experience as a prospective vet student, since you need 2 references to apply to OVC? And how hard is it to find work experience in Guelph? And are there any resources on campus to help students to pursue that?
Absolutely. There is something we call a pre-vet med club, and there are so many other resources. There are organizations which cater to that. The whole ecosystem of students going to vet school is such that while you are in your undergrad at Guelph, you will be exposed to different ways you can start working, whether it's going to a equine facility, a stud farm, or you want to work with sheep, you want to work with cows, you want to work with dog and cat clinic. Whatever your dream is. I know students who do, 3 days go into a small animal clinic, and on a weekend they go to a equine facility, and then they work with racehorses, and vice versa. So whatever combination you have, it works for you. But the ecosystem is designed here that you will be exposed to the opportunities. Sometimes clinics advertise that they are looking for help in their farm or a barn or in the clinic, or they know somebody in their upper years who is working in a clinic and says, oh, our clinic is looking for another volunteer, right? So there's even that word of mouth thing. And then on top of that, there's advertising, which the place will advertise. And then there is all these clubs where there's always some information coming. Because if I'm an employer now, if I have a clinic today and I say, oh, I need a new person to come in my clinic, where should I post it? I should just put it on the listserv of the university, or let the students know that I'm looking for it. Or maybe I should advertise it in the pre-med club and say, folks, I'm looking, I have this opportunity. Anybody who wants to apply, please send us your resume, a brief outline of why they want to join this work, and we'll call you for an interview. And it's as simple as that. So, but the ecosystem here is very well designed to do that.
Wow, thanks a lot. This has to do, I think there are people definitely interested in cricket, but they are also asking, are there other sports apart from cricket available, and maybe football or basketball, or what others athletics, opportunities or sports available on campus?
Yeah, why I gave the example of cricket was the only thing that was missing on campus. And we have even created that. So you can imagine if you can dream of a game, you just dream. You can play it in golf. Like there are some things where we have built the infrastructure that you can come and play any game you want. There are diverse fields where ice hockey, swimming, we have a huge athletic gym, we have indoor sports, badminton, like ping pong or table tennis, all these sports where I have actually gone and played. So where I don't even play those games, I've actually gone and played with students. So rest assured, if there's no game and you want to invent your game, there is opportunities in the athletic center to book the athletic center so that you can get the whole dome to yourself and you can play that game and enjoy.
Mohammed, do you want to add something from the student perspective? The wonderful 25,000 square foot athletic center and all the varsity sports and other intramurals you experience yourself?
Yes.
The rock climbing.
It's something that again, like I said, it's one of my favorite University of Guelph experiences. I'm very involved with the athletics and sports because of my background, but the very fact that you can join leagues every year and maybe assemble a team through your friends and participate in them, and there's that competitiveness. And I do want to mention that there's different variations of competitiveness as well. If you're someone who's very, very talented in a sport, but you never took it professionally, there's the highest of forms of competitiveness. And then there's also the casual for fun teams where you're just playing the sport because it's fun. So we do accommodate for all those. Again, we have any sport that you can think of. And also there's always opportunity for people to join the varsity teams if they've never thought about joining it before. So for example, I've been a swimmer my whole life, a competitive swimmer my whole life. But once I came to Canada, I stopped swimming competitively and actually came in contact with the coach. And he said, you're always welcome to come practice with us a few times and we can see if we can still come back in. So that's something that I ever continued, just basically because I've already decided to end that option. But it's definitely available for anyone who is interested in joining a varsity sport. Alongside that, the athletic center, the gym, the basketball courts, all those are stuff that I've personally always been there especially during exam time, because I find that it's a place that a lot of students go to de-stress, or it's a good time to spend some of your leisure time. So the facility there is actually insanely new and clean, and it's because it recently was renovated. So you'll find some of the highest machines and top quality machines over there.
Awesome. There is a follow-up question here that has to do with transiting from high school to the university. And the future Griffin here wants to know, were there particularly some challenging moments, or what were some of the adjustments that were challenging, or they should possibly bear in mind?
Sorry, my dog's barking in the background. However, something that I would say is particularly challenging is the volume of material that you need to study in comparison to high school. The material isn't necessarily challenging to the point where it's something completely new. You will always have a base knowledge to work off of. However, it's more about the volume you are learning throughout the week, given that you have potentially three or one large class per week, and then you also have to do that on your own time. Make sure you're doing the readings, the follow-ups, the tutorials, perhaps. And I think that's what sometimes students may struggle with, especially when transitioning from high school, because in high school I think they chunk it up in small portions throughout a long period of time. So that squeeze is what I would say is particularly the most challenging part for most incoming students.
And I just want to mention all international students, future Griffins, there is a lot of support on campus for your transition. Our international students experience team is definitely there to support when it comes to, so whether it comes to your mental health, your health and safety, academically, there is support all through the lane in order for you to be successful both academically and personally. So please trust me, you will definitely face the iceberg experience where there are times on when you get to campus, it's all fun. When it hits with academic work, you know, and deadlines to meet, you may feel overwhelmed. But right from the library to our health center, performance center, to our wellness center, there is a lot of support. And we always encourage international students, do not suffer in your little corner. Ask questions, reach out, and there's a lot of support to help you to definitely prosper and be successful through your academic journey. There is a question here regarding residence. It's in two forms, and I'll answer part of it, but it's asking, how is the residence like now, since the whole COVID-19 and stuff? Do you have a quarantine session for international students? I will answer those questions, but they generally wanted to also know which residence is most appropriate for an international first year student. So Mohammed, if you could share your residence experience generally, and I may touch with a little bit on the quarantine and what residence is looking towards coming for 2021.
For sure, yeah. Just off the bat, I'm going to say that all residents are welcome for international students. Everyone, as I mentioned, everyone is coming from different backgrounds. So it's actually a great time for you to go knock on your neighbors or look at who's in your floor and make new friends. When I first came to the university, I actually applied late for the residence. So funny enough, I got put in the Johnston residence to begin with. It was just a temporary stay until I was relocated into a different residence. But I was fortunate enough to be put in a biomed floor where everyone on my floor was actually from the biomed program. So that was something that was very fortunate for me because I was going through classes, and a lot of the people who were in my classes were actually in my floor as well. And a lot of those neighbors that I'm talking about went on to be some of my closest friends following up in the next years. Some who I've still taking courses with up until my last semester. Then following that, when I was relocated, I was moved to the East Townhouses, and that is something that I loved a lot. That the East Townhouses are like its own little village to the east side part of the campus, and they're just townhouses that you share with 3 other people. You have your own kitchen in the house, a living room, and all that. So it was really, really cool. The roommates who I lived with in that time were roommates that I followed up living with for the remainder of my time in university. But that doesn't take away from any of the other residences. Each residence has its own unique aspect to it. All of them have food. All of them have they're nearby to something that particularly you may want to visit on campus, whether it be the athletic center, whether it may be most of your courses. But as Dr. Madan's mentioned, everything is generally within a bike ride away from each other. So in terms of distance, nothing is particularly too far from another. And you'll find that regardless of where you are, you can access probably the hotspots that you visit on campus.
Awesome. I also just want to mention, please, if you've definitely not applied to residence, you are thinking about residence, June 1st is the deadline to apply for residence and pay your online deposit.